On October 15, 1944, the Japanese Imperial Navy's first mobile fleet initiated operations, a desperate strategy to deliver a decisive blow to Allied naval forces of late in the central Philippines. After the fierce Battle of the Sibuyan Sea on October 24th, it seemed the powerful Japanese center force was retreating westward. However, they soon reversed course, emerging from the San Bernardino Strait north of Samar the next day, and set a course southward toward Lake Gulf. At this critical moment, Admiral William F. Halsey S.U.S. Third Fleet had been lured north by the Japanese Northern Force, a decoy carrier task force. Meanwhile, the heavy units of Vice Admiral Thomas C. Kinkaid's U.S. 7th Fleet were positioned to the south of Leyte Gulf. This tactical maneuver left only 3 7th Fleet escort carrier task units to guard the northern approach to Leyte. At dawn on October 25th, Rear Admiral Clifton C. F. Sprague's Task Group 77-4, 3 known by their call sign Taffy 3, comprising 6 escort carriers, 3 destroyers, and 4 destroyer escorts, faced an overwhelming sight. 4 Japanese battleships, including the mighty Yamato with her 18-inch guns, accompanied by 6 heavy cruisers, 2 light cruisers, and 11 destroyers, loomed on the horizon. Despite the odds, these smaller American ships braced themselves for one of the most intense and heroic naval engagements of World War II, the Battle of Samar. Taffy 3 was comprised of the following ships: 6 escort carriers, 3 destroyers, 4 destroyer escorts. After passing through the San Bernardino Strait, the Japanese center force remained in its nighttime search formation, just after sunrise at 06:03. While still transitioning to their daytime anti-aircraft formation, the battleship Yamato detected U.S. anti-submarine patrol aircraft on radar. By 0650, after engaging several air contacts, the Japanese spotted what they believed was a major U.S. carrier task force from the Third Fleet on the eastern horizon. In reality, this was Taffy 3. Vice Admiral Takeo Kurita, the commander of Center Force, quickly ordered his ships into pursuit formation. This sudden shift caused confusion among the Japanese vessels, as they were still rearranging from nighttime to daylight formations, leading to a disorganized deployment of their formidable firepower. Taffy 3's first encounter with Kurita's fleet came with the sighting of anti-aircraft fire to the northwest, followed by radar hits and intercepted Japanese communications. Kurita then ordered an attack, with Yamato and other ships opening fire. Taffy 3 crew members noted the vivid splashes caused by the Japanese shells, marked with spotting dye. Rear Admiral Clifton Sprague responded by turning his carrier southeast and deploying a smoke screen with his destroyers. Leading the counter-attack, the destroyer Johnston began firing at the Japanese ships. Taffy 3's sister units, Taffy 1 and Taffy 2, located about 25 nautical miles to the southeast, also moved to support. Rear Admiral Felix B. Stump's Taffy 2 provided crucial air support, while Rear Admiral Thomas L. Sprague's Taffy 1 launched some aircraft, but faced other challenges as the day progressed. Sprague launched fighters and bombers, originally equipped for close air support and anti-submarine missions, to harass the Japanese attackers. He adjusted his course southward, and as the battle unfolded, he was forced southwest, creating an inverted fishhook maneuver that would define the Battle of Samar. At 0716, Rear Admiral Clifton Sprague ordered his destroyers to launch torpedo attacks against the advancing Japanese fleet. Leading the charge was the destroyer Johnston, followed by Heermann and Howell. Johnston managed to score a torpedo hit on the heavy cruiser Kumano, but suffered severe damage from 6 and 14-inch shells. Howell aimed at the battleship Congo but missed and was soon caught in a crossfire from Japanese battleships and cruisers, sustaining multiple hits. As Sprague issued a second attack order at 0742, Heermann joined the fray, launching torpedoes at the heavy cruiser Vigoro, which evaded them and retaliated with salvos that all missed. Heermann then encountered the battleships Congo, Yamato, and Nagato, firing her remaining torpedoes and 5-inch guns at Congo before retreating to protect the carriers. Despite intense Japanese fire, Heermann emerged with only minor damage from shell fragments. The aggressive and determined attacks by the US destroyers, along with ongoing assaults, convinced Vice Admiral Takeo Kurita that he was facing a significant carrier task force. This misconception was reinforced by the second wave of US torpedo attacks. During this second assault, the destroyer escorts Samuel B.N. Roberts, Dennis, John C. Butler, and Raymond joined the battle. The heavily damaged Johnston also re-engaged, laying down intense fire on the Japanese cruisers Haguro and Tone, which mistakenly identified her as a heavy cruiser. By 08:00, the U.S. escorts regrouped with the carriers, laying a smoke screen as they continued their southwesterly course. However, by 08:30, Powell had sustained critical damage, was dead in the water, and began sinking. Listing to port with her engineering spaces flooded and a magazine fire, Hull's crew was forced to abandon ship. Even before Rear Admiral Sprague ordered the initial torpedo attack, the escort carriers were under intense fire from the pursuing Japanese fleet. After a brief rain squall and initial US air attacks, Japanese battleships and heavy cruisers closed in from behind, while destroyers advanced from the starboard side. A division of Japanese heavy cruisers managed to overtake the carrier's port flank, aiming to cross their T and cut them off. This maneuver forced Sprague to steer southwest, complicating aircraft launches due to a following wind. US aircraft were ordered to focus on the heavy cruiser division on the port side, while Taffy 2, positioned to the southeast, also launched attacks on Kurita's forces. Throughout the engagement, the Japanese fleet endured continuous, though uncoordinated, air assaults from US planes. As the escort carriers turned southwest, they faced Japanese fire from the north and east. As the range closed, the carriers fired their single 5-inch guns from the stern. Although this had minimal effect, carriers like Colin Bay and White Plains managed to score hits on Japanese heavy cruisers. Notably, a hit from White Plains on the cruiser Chokai caused significant damage, forcing Chokai out of formation, where it was later destroyed by aircraft from Kitkan Bay. Despite laying more smoke screens, the carriers remained visible due to wind direction. All carriers were hit by Japanese shells, but the impact was mitigated as the armor-piercing shells over penetrated the unarmored ships. However, Gambier Bay, on the exposed port flank, began taking hits around 0810, which caused fires on her flight and hangar decks. Subsequent hits flooded her forward port engine room, reducing her speed and causing her to fall behind. Johnston attempted to divert fire from Gambier Bay, but the Japanese continued their barrage. By 0840, Gambier Bay was dead in the water and sinking, and the order to abandon ship was given 10 minutes later. As the task unit moved southwest, Samuel B.N. Roberts, Heerman, and Johnston continued their relentless engagement with the pursuing Japanese heavy cruisers. Shortly before Hull sank, Rear Admiral Sprague ordered John C. Butler and Dennis to take positions on the starboard quarter of the escort carriers, where they were joined by Raymond. This maneuver placed them between the carriers and the Japanese. However, except for John C. Butler, the escorts had already expended all their torpedoes. Given the positions of the forces, it was doubtful they could achieve a favorable firing position. The destroyers and destroyer escorts resorted to aggressive, darting attacks on the Japanese cruisers, firing their guns while zigzagging between the carriers and the enemy. Smoke screens provided some cover, but the escorts took heavy hits yet remained operational. At around 0850, Samuel B.N. Roberts suffered a serious hit below the waterline, disabling her number 1 firearm. Additional hits followed, culminating in a massive explosion from several 14-inch shells that tore a 30-foot gash in her port side, destroyed her number 2 engine room, ruptured fuel tanks, and ignited fires. With all power and communications lost, the crew abandoned Samuel B. Roberts at 0910. Her commanding officer, Lieutenant Commander Robert W. Copeland, USNR, was later awarded the Navy Cross for his bravery. At 0845, just before Samuel B.N. Roberts was hit, the Japanese light cruiser Yohagi and several destroyers launched a torpedo attack on Taffy 3. This was repelled by Johnston's intense fire and strafing runs from US aircraft. However, Johnston, already crippled with 1 engine out, sustained additional hit. By 0945, her remaining engine was knocked out, her topsides were in ruins, and with no power or communications, Johnston was dead in the water and abandoned at 0950. Commander Ernest E. Evans, Johnston's commanding officer, did not survive but was posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor. This final attack by the Japanese destroyer squadron marked the last offensive action against Taffy 3. Taffy 3's survival during the Battle of Samar was heavily influenced by continuous air attacks on Kurita's fleet. Rear Admiral Stump's Taffy 2 played a crucial role, reinforcing Taffy 3's efforts against the dispersed Japanese center force. Early that morning, Stump had his TBM Avengers rearmed with torpedoes and 500-pound bombs to target capital ships. As Taffy 3 was being pursued, Stump closed the distance and launched 3 strikes within the 90-minute battle. At one point, Japanese ships even diverted their pursuit to fire on Taffy 2's destroyers. Stump's strategy was to cripple as many Japanese ships as possible rather than focusing on specific targets. Taffy 2 and Taffy 3 aircraft contributed to the sinking of the heavy cruisers Chokai, Chikuma, and Suzuya, and damaged many other vessels. These air attacks, combined with sprayed smoke screens, disrupted Japanese gunnery and command control. After his last scout aircraft was shot down, and unaware of the weakened state of his opponent, Kurita decided to break of the engagement and retreat northwest. However, the respite for the US task units was brief. At 0740, Taffy 1, while launching aircraft in support of Taffy 3, was attacked by the 1st Official Kamikaze Unit. USS Santee was hit, causing significant fires. Other escort carriers experienced near misses, disrupting flight operations until after 1000. At 1100, kamikaze attacks targeted Taffy 3, Kikun Bay, Fanshawe Bay, and White Plains managed to fend off their attackers, but St. Lo was hit by a Mitsubishi 6M0, causing catastrophic explosions and fires. St. Lo sank within 30 minutes. Subsequent kamikaze attacks hit Carlinian Bay, causing fires and damage, but these were controlled. By 1130, the Japanese air assaults ceased, allowing the task unit to focus on damage control and rescuing survivors from Howell, Gambier Bay, Samuel B. Roberts, Johnston, and St. Lo. The heroism and aggressiveness of Taffy 3, combined with relentless US air attacks, limited Japanese situational awareness and sheer luck, thwarted Vice Admiral Kurita's plans to destroy US landing forces in Leyte Gulf. Alongside defeats in the Sibuyan Sea, Surigao Strait, and off Cape Ingeo, the engagement at Samar crippled much of the Japanese Navy's offensive capabilities, relegating it to a fleet in being that posed a concern, but no longer a significant threat. As the smoke cleared from the Battle of Samar, one of the most intense and unexpected engagements of World War II, it left an indelible mark on the course of the Pacific War. Despite facing overwhelming odds, the bravery and determination of the small American fleet, known as Taffy 3, played a pivotal role in the Allied victory during the Battle of Leyte Gulf. The sailors and aviators who survived the fierce combat carried with them not only the scars of battle, but also a profound sense of brotherhood and heroism. Many returned home to a hero's welcome, forever changed by their experiences. They shared their stories, taught lessons of resilience and courage, and contributed to their communities in countless ways. As we remember the chaos and valor of that day, we honor both the fallen and the survivors, whose bravery turned the tide of war in the Pacific. And may we never forget the sacrifices made in those turbulent waters of Samar.